Real quick before we go ahead and jump into the fantasy news, I would just like to say that the part 2 for my Fringe video is finally done, approved through the copyright maze, and going to be released this Thursday. If you wouldn't mind tuning on in 9 a.m. and giving it a good long watch, sharing, liking if you feel appropriate, I would really appreciate it. It is a part 2. I tried to make it watchable if you still have not seen my Fringe Deep Dive part 1, which I'll have pinned in the comment down below. But this will be covering season 3 of Fringe. And if you want to see me get a little more harsh on the show, I definitely do for season 3. And I'm hoping to kind of reduce down to 2 videos a week from here on out so that you will be guaranteed to be getting a fantasy news and then a bigger deep dive. The next one I'm considering doing is the full story of Red Eagle Entertainment and the Wheel of Time. That ballad. And I'd like to eventually kind of shift it so that even book reviews kind of get this longer, full deep dive treatment on the channel. Thank you for indulging me. Link to the first Fringe video in the pinned comment. And now, into your regularly scheduled fantasy news. Welcome everybody to another episode of I'm Now Lightheaded. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Green, and today we have a light little tapestry of fantasy news that I am going to walk you through, starting with the fact that Christopher Paolini, you know him, you likely have read him, has released his next cover for Fractal Noise, which originally did have a good bit of controversy around its cover due to it not being bad looking, but AI generated, and it seemed there was kind of some attempt to downplay that. Though I would certainly like to re-emphasize, in no way, shape, or form what we have seen that is from Christopher Paolini, just Tor.
For me? Are you kidding?
But for this new cover, we have seen an artist immediately credited, and that would be Francois Leroy, aka Friendly Robot. And after taking a look at their profile, wow, this is a hell of an artist. Go ahead and check out their art station. I'll be sure to have it linked down there. As for the cover itself, this kind of astronaut in the void cover is probably a genre on its own at this point. We have seen it done many a time, but it still doesn't feel tired. It's just kind of a concept you can do quite a bit with. And this execution of it a bit more up close and personal, I find kind of tempting, alluring, well, terrifying. And the way some blue has been snuck in here in the reflection kind of gives it a little bit of an extra depth that I like. And if you've been waiting for an edition of Fractal Noise that didn't have AI art, this one will be hitting shelves 5/21/24. But from there, we're going to be sliding on over into some board game news, because we have the official announcement from Kesco Games that they have entered in collaboration with both Digimon and, more excitingly for me personally, One Piece to help both franchises celebrate their 25th anniversary by releasing some tabletop titles, as well as other outdoor spring and summer toys, all set to be released in either 2024 or 2025. And I actually wasn't aware of kind of manga or anime having board game adaptations. It's obvious in hindsight, but it's just not something I ever really thought about. And it seems that Kesco Games has actually been hired to do adaptations for manga animation before, due to their Spy X Family game that has some pretty decent reviews. I did check their catalog to see if I have played anything by Kesco, and unfortunately haven't, but on some board game review aggregate websites, which yes, exist, their games seem to be well received, so I'm excited to see this for One Piece. Also, One Piece reaching its 25th anniversary. For what percentage of its 25 years has it been near completion? I just want to know. I just want to know. But that is not the end of the exciting board game news here for fantasy fans, because it has been announced that Mondefius,
what did you say?
They don't like dyslexics, Games is going to be releasing a tabletop RPG for Discworld, saying initially we will be looking to publish a tabletop role-playing game set around the city of Ankh-Morpork and the wider Discworld, with a Kickstarter for the tabletop role-playing game planned for late 2024. They then go on to claim, of course, to be big Discworld fans. It'd be weird if they said anything else, and actually have a survey open for fans to submit their own suggestions for what they would like to see for a Discworld-inspired board game. It's always kind of great to see a board game attempt to bring a new way to interact with a universe you love to life, and if it's not done great, it at least doesn't descend into the kind of arguments we can see around so many other adaptations that drive us all In all seriousness though, I love fandom. I love other people loving franchises I don't even like, because that's just excitement I find so infectious. And especially board games can act like gateway drugs to your friends who don't necessarily like the series you do, but you can trick them into saying, hey, you can play this game without having read the book and it's just a great game, let's play it. Oh, you're kind of curious about this stuff, the lore, the world building? Here's the first book. You're reading it, now you're in. Is that just me? Is it only me who uses board games to get my friends to like the books that I like? But speaking loving fandom, sometimes the communities around even the mediums can be amazing, because we have seen that the Indie Fantasy Fund is opened for 2024 to help authors who submits their self-published work get an audiobook produced. You can apply right now, and yeah, if you're someone who has written and put out a self-pub book but did not have the funds available to get it made into an audiobook, which yeah, in today's market and how people consume stories is crucial to finding a large portion of your potential audience. Go ahead and check out the link down below. No sponsor or anything here, just a cool way I hope to help somebody get their audiobook funded. All right, I hear you. I'll go ahead and talk about it. Yes, Dune 2 has been all over the place with its release happening this last weekend, dominating headlines by exceeding box office expectations, and with Denis Villeneuve, despite having already said he was going to be making Dune Messiah, now confirming he is actively working on the script. I do feel a little bit ahead of the curve here. We covered that a while ago in fantasy news. Take that, normal websites, I beat ya. But I want to backtrack a little bit and talk about that box office, because Dune Part 2 is performing, with its initial domestic release nearly doubling Dune Part 1's. Wow. I already put out my review here on the channel. I was glowingly positive, but this is a spoiler-free review. I will be doing a spoiler-filled discussion, hopefully next week. I want to give you all time to see it, and I really hope the right lessons are learned from this level of success from Dune, because I don't think there's anybody out there who considers Dune a light science fiction story. It's not even necessarily like Star Wars, despite the constant comparisons, and has rather intricate theming and not your typical good guy, bad guy situation. But audiences seemingly across the board on a near Marvel level opening box office are seeming to respond to this story, at least the spectacle of what Denis Villeneuve is bringing forward. Of course, the release situation for Dune 1 and Dune 2, just due to so much that was going on in the world, is vastly different, but this is exceeding the expectations that we're already trying to take that into account. The hope I have that my jaded mind tells me isn't likely is that this will send a broad message to many studios that it's okay to take a bit of a risk on a more experimental story, as long as you put it in the hands of visionary artists like this director, like his team that he's worked with for so long on these movies, and let them make something as fans. It doesn't even need to be as established as Frank Herbert's Dune, because I think a natural sense of FOMO for people who haven't necessarily read the books begin occurring, and that inevitably kind of draws more people to read the books, or just want to go see the movie so they can pretend like they've read the books and then also seen the movie. And we're seeing this happen right now with Murderbot. I've never seen more chatter happening about the series, even when its books are being released, than just the fact that we're seeing casting news for its adaptation over at AppleTV+, still the worst name streaming service in existence. And that is because Noma Dumzweni and David Desmalchain, I tried my best with both there, both you have to admit though, your last names, Ick move to dyslexics, have been announced to join Alexander Skarsgård in helping bring Murderbot to life. We don't know David's character yet, but Noma will be playing Mensa. And while I believe many people here on my channel were familiar with David Malmstron's work due to his involvement with major franchises like Batman, I personally had to do a little bit of a deep dive into Noma Dumzweni, and wow, this is an impressive grab. She is a two-time Olivier Award winner and a Tony nominee. And Apple seems to be committing itself to adapting more science fiction stories that aren't necessarily as well known as their Foundation adaptation, or of course the recent Dune, because they're also going to apparently be adapting Neuromancer. This isn't of course some kind of indie niche series, but I don't think your average reader has heard of Neuromancer. But a Neuromancer adaptation did just get greenlit over at Apple TV Plus for a 10-episode series, which will be a co-production between Skydance Television and Anonymous Content, produced by Dream Crew Entertainment entertainment. Now, Graham Rowland, who you may know for his work on Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan or Dark Winds, is set to be the showrunner, while J.D. Dillard will direct the pilot episode. There's like an endlessly growing list of stories in my head that deserve adaptation, but near the top for a long time for me has been Neuromancer. I got into the cyberpunk genre, I think, around the same time as a lot of people with the release of CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077, and that, of course, led me to reading Neuromancer, and it's incredible to see where that genre came from, how much influence Neuromancer still has to this day with inventing terms that are just in our everyday lexicon. And I hope, while there are, of course, visual and thematic world similarities between a great game like Cyberpunk 2077, Neuromancer is able to bring a unique vision that is more true to the original source material of what cyberpunk can be, especially because this book was so crucial in just establishing what cyberpunk would be, coming out around the same time as Blade Runner. I spoke too generally, and I just want to clarify, because I don't want to help spread a misconception. Neuromancer did not just invent the cyberpunk genre out of nowhere. There are stories in hindsight that, after Neuromancer came out and helped firm up what the genre was, were clearly cyberpunk stories. But yes, without a doubt, Neuromancer is a book that helped solidify the concept and ideas and continued themes that have become associated with cyberpunk. But that's not the last piece of great adaptation news, because Rebecca Kwong's Babel has apparently been optioned by WIIP. Have not heard of them before. Maybe it's pronounced whip, maybe wipe, I don't know. With Temple Hill producing. For those of you unaware, Babel is a historical fantasy epic that reimagines 19th century Oxford as the home of the mysterious Royal Institute of Translation, whose secrets power the British Empire. Kwong had to say about the potential adaptation, "I was so excited by Temple Hill and Whip's vision for the project. It felt like they were truly dedicated to creating a translation that adds to the story through the unique qualities of a different art form." And it's funny, it took me until the second time I was reading this article to notice that they didn't say if it's going to be a miniseries or a movie, and I wasn't sure which I felt to be the best fit for Babel. I tend to like miniseries format by default because it's the most flexible to what a story needs, but I do think overall, though, it is the best fit for Babel as well. That is a thick book, and I can't imagine getting into all of the nuances in a single film. Well-funded 8 to 10 episode miniseries. And in the final story we're going to be covering here today in Fantasy Schnoz, the trailer for Dune Awakening was dropped. The new video game looked exactly like what I would expect a Dune MMORPG to look like in 2024 that happens to be releasing or getting its hype right when the movie is coming out. I'm not saying people didn't work for a long time on this game. I'm not saying there aren't people who are going to really enjoy this, but it doesn't look super, that's kind of the end. It just kind of looked like, yeah, there's the rock smashing, base building, exact type stuff I would expect. The graphics looked meh, and the gameplay they showed suspiciously lacked a lot of combat or anything like that. So, I don't know. For me, this just is going to come and go, and that will be the last I awaken to the thing of Dune. Goodbye.
And today's Indie Pub promo is A Veil for the Vanguard, Book 1 in the Aenlith series, written by Danny F. Santos, pitched as a thrilling fantasy adventure filled with magic, intrigue, and betrayal. Perfect for fans of Mistborn, King Fountain, or Six of Crows. Kira is a lowly librarian's aide who is forced to undertake a perilous journey she's untrained for. But unknown to her, larger forces are at work in the shadows. She'll soon learn her deadly quest will lead to far greater dangers than she ever realized. Why her? Kira has the least magic power at the Citadel, and they choose her to head into enemy territory? Crazy. To find the most powerful magical artifact ever known? Certifiably insane. Not to mention, the thing has been lost for over a century. On top of that, she must team up with the celebrated relic hunter Jorthan. Intimidating? Just a little. But Kira has no choice. The High Council has spoken. So, she boards an airship with a motley crew who have secrets of their own and little hope of success. What they discover is far beyond an artifact as they unravel the dark secrets leading to a deadly global war. Hunted by a secret organization, only Kira knows of the looming threat. Can she escape her pursuers and warn her people before thousands are killed? Check it out in the links down below.
But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Please go ahead and tune into the new Fringe video dropping this Thursday, and check out part 1 if you have not already. Like and subscribe. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high-tier Patreons: Patronic, Daniel, Mock, Goblin Underling, Erudite Gaming, Claudio, and Michael Morgan. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And have a good one.